Alrighty. Yes, we are back with another reading stream. Reading my old stories and seeing how well or not well they hold up. For the Golden Freddy in particular, it is the second story in my FNAF series that I wrote. And it's the first of two original stories, but the second original story was more or less going to devolve, well, not devolve, but turn into an existing game. So, by all accounts, Golden Freddy is the only truly original story, and I'm not sure how to feel about, not sure how I'm gonna feel about this one. Just looking back at it, because the only game we had at the time was the first game, but even then, it's just, when we get to when we go further along, you'll further understand. But I, I'm not. I don't want to say I'm not proud of it, but it could have been so much better. I know some people have said that it's their favorite one, and if that's you, then I'm not knocking you. I'm not saying your opinion is wrong about that, but me personally, I'm yeah. Who knows? Maybe going through it again will change my mind, but I'm not not having too high hopes about that at all. Oh boy. So let me at least get this pulled up. Okay, here. Okie dokie. Alright, here we are. The Golden Freddy. Book 2 of 7. Mike Schmidt has healed from his devastating injury at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Now that he is off bed rest, he is now on a quest to free the spirit of a child still trapped in one more animatronic suit, the Golden Freddy. When a seemingly simple task takes Mike on a journey across the country as well as his own mind, he realizes that maybe there's more to that cursed pizzeria than he thought. In the sequel to Cole Gertis' thrilling adaptation of the PC horror game Five Nights at Freddy's, the author brings back the thrill and suspense for the second time. Debatable. Five Nights at Freddy's is owned by Scott Cawthon. The story is a work of fiction based off the game, all rights reserved. Number 14 when you search Goodrich. What's number 1? Out of curiosity. Number 1 is Red Knight. Joe Goodrich. Okay, that makes sense. How is Red Knight number 1? That's actually kind of shocking. Oh jeez. Yes. Huh. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that being a thing. Okay. Let's not dwell too off topic here. Alright. So, 58 minutes. Oh, so less. I guess it kind of makes sense. It is kind of shorter. Still not sure. I don't know. Maybe I'm just exaggerating a little bit, but I don't know. This is definitely gonna be an interesting read. Definitely gonna be a very interesting read. All right, let's get this over with. Oh, right off the bat. How does it feel, Mike? Macy asked with a giant smile. Oh boy, I can already tell what the comments say. You really have to phrase it like that. Why was that? Oh, we're off to a great start, folks. I'm not gonna lie, I replied with a chuckle. I keep forgetting I can do things myself. Oh. Great way. Great way to start your story. What a sibling interaction to have. Okay. Alright. How does it feel, Mike? Maisie asked with a giant smile. Not gonna lie, I replied with a chuckle. I keep forgetting I can do things myself now. Well, I'm sure that's what happens when your arms are in casts for a long time, she said with a laugh. But it definitely feels good to walk again. I'm sure. I then looked at my arms and leg, now fully healed. I'd been in casts for so long I almost forgot what they looked like. Well, I guess I had my right leg, but still. I still slightly felt pain in my bones from where they broke, but nothing too serious. Well, I know what will make you feel even better, she told me. What would that be? She then pulled out today's newspaper and pointed to an article. Took a look at it and grew a giant grin. Local pizzeria set for demolition tomorrow. A local family pizzeria, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which closed its doors in 1997 for sanitation purposes, is now set to be torn down tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. The said demolition date was pushed forward when a man claiming to be an employee was severely injured on the premises months ago. While he never explained how he received the injuries, he was treated for 2 broken arms and 1 broken leg. The man, who asked not to be named, had this to say: I'll be sure to count down the days till that place is no more. You've become newspaper famous, Macy said as she patted my back. But you really couldn't think of anything else to say? Well, I was rushed, I said with a shrug, but I kept my word about it. I then pointed to the calendar in my room, which showed the demolition date circled and underlined. A little obsessive, if you ask me. Well, you'll have to wait until tomorrow morning, my sister told me. I can do that, I replied with a grin. After that, we sat around and talked for a bit. Mom and Dad were still worried about me, but they were just glad I was alright. I was just glad that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was going to be gone for good. I would have told people the truth, that the animatronic characters that haunted the place tried stuffing me into a suit, but they would have never let me hear the end of it. I was just glad I stopped those characters once and for all. I think it's safe to say Macy and I are the only ones who know that they were haunted by children killed and stuffed in there nearly 20 years ago. But I managed to free them by opening the costumes and the curse was lifted. Anyway, soon it was time for bed. I knew I had to get up early to witness the destruction. I said goodnight to Macy and I went to bed. It felt nice to finally be able to sleep without casts. I found myself slowly drifting off to sleep. I hadn't realized how exhausted I was. That's when it happened. An image I had seen years ago glued itself into my brain with a loud demonic sound blared through my ears. It looked like Freddy Fazbear, only he was golden yellow and he had blacked out eyes. It went away after a few seconds and I sat up heavily breathing. I think the only reason I wasn't screaming was because my throat was dry. I couldn't believe I'd forgotten about him, the 5th animal character, possibly possessed by the 5th missing child, the Golden Freddy. Quite an intro. It seems a little rushed if you ask me. I don't know. If all these books from the FNAF series came movies, I would watch them in theaters. Oh, such a narcissist. I began thinking hard. Planning. I began thinking hard. I knew the 5th child was in Golden Freddy, but I don't think I ever actually saw Golden Freddy himself. I mean, he appeared in my office briefly, but he disappeared when I looked away. I thought he was an illusion, but now I wonder. If I was going to find Golden Freddy, I'd first need to know more about him. I realized there's only one place to start finding information about him, the place the children were killed. Then it hit me. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was going to be torn down tomorrow morning. I looked at my watch. It was 11:40 p.m. If I hurried, I could do a last-minute investigation of the place. Quietly got out of bed and dressed in dark clothes. I didn't know if the place was being guarded. Of course, if it was, I think they'd probably want to get away from there. I then grabbed a But the animatronics are gone. Why did I think that made sense? Like, the curse was lifted. I then grabbed a flashlight and quietly got my shoes on. Must not have been quiet enough, because the light suddenly turned on and I saw Macy standing in the doorway in her robe. What are you doing? She asked. I froze. I really didn't want to tell her, but I couldn't think of a believable excuse. I'm going to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, I finally replied. She just stared at me. Why? She slowly asked. Because I need to find something. Like what? Like another animatronic. She just stared. I could have sworn she was frozen. I need to do this, I told her, for the sake of another missing kid. She still just stared at me. I probably won't be there long anyway. I'll be fine. If you say so. Macy. Oh, Macy. Then grabbed my flashlight, opened the door. Don't do anything stupid, Mike, she told me. I won't, I replied, and I left the apartment. I hoped I could keep that promise. Yeah, honestly, I don't remember too much about my finale story, but I do remember there was one scene that was basically kind of like a meta thing where like Macy finally called Mike out for just being so secretive and not trusting her with some of this stuff. And honestly, from what I remember, that actually was a pretty like powerful scene because yeah, we have several stories worth of build up there. I drove to the place nostalgia trip. She's part 3 already. Jeez. This might definitely be a shorter one. I drove to the place I swore to myself I'd never visit again. As I approached the restaurant, I made sure to look around for any signs of security. I couldn't see any. I pulled into the parking lot and looked at the deserted pizzeria. I somehow felt bad for the place, being all boarded up and broken. Some of the letters in the sign were missing altogether. Anyway, I got out of the car and crept my way to the entrance, which shockingly wasn't boarded. I peeked through a glass door and saw nothing but darkness. Good thing I had the flashlight. Wow, jeez, that's a short one. I tried pushing the door. To my surprise, it opened. I found it strange, but I didn't question it. Turned my flashlight and walked inside. I could see right away that most of the chairs and tables were gone. The few that remained were caked in dust. I then turned towards the stage and found it empty. I remember when I first entered this place, I saw 3 animatronic characters on stage. Bonnie the Bunny, Chica the Chicken, and Freddy Fazbear. I thought they were creepy then. I had no idea how bad they were. Suddenly, a loud chime almost made me jump out of my skin. It was a chime I heard plenty of times. I looked at my watch and chuckled. Chuckled, not chucked. Chuckled. 12 a.m. The time my shift started. The shift of my terrible job. Anyway, I had to focus and find some information about Golden Freddy. I had officially 8 hours to do so. Hopefully it won't take that long. Yeah, this is probably talking about all the grammar errors. Mike goes into the abandoned, not boarded pizzeria. The robots are still there. The clock is still working after years of being closed. Later here. Good luck. See ya. Dusty office. I began thinking of a good place to find information on Golden Freddy. I knew the stage in the back room had no signs of him. None of the posters were advertising him either. I then decided to check the manager's office. If there was a place to find any and all information about this place, it would be there. I then walked that way, guiding my path with my flashlight beam. As I did, I took a look around the walls and hallways. I passed Pirate Cove along the way. The curtain was wide open, but at least there wasn't a robot fox inside that wanted to kill me. I saw torn posters along the wall. Most were advertisements for the pizzeria, but one that I saw was a list of rules for the children. I barely managed to make out one that read, "Do not touch Freddy." I eventually found the manager's office. The door was wide open and almost off its hinges. I shone my light inside and found papers scattered all over the place and heavily caked in dust. It would take time, but I had to check all these papers for any information. A good majority of the papers were so worn out I could barely make out anything on them, but based on what I could read, they didn't look relevant. Soon 2 hours passed, and I was halfway through the papers. It was amazing how much was left here. I found old posters, complaint letters, children's drawings, and memos, none of which related to Golden Freddy. Though perhaps I said that too soon. I caught a glimpse at one of the drawings and noticed it was of the 4 animatronic animals, but the one I assumed to be Freddy was yellow. I know it didn't tell me much, but it was a start. About half an hour later, I was still looking through papers. Just when I thought there wasn't much else that would be helpful, I caught a glimpse of what appeared to be a memo from the manager. "Carl, make sure the old Freddy costume is prepared nicely for when the guy from the other Freddy Fazbears comes to collect it tomorrow. Management." A ton of questions popped in my head. What did he mean, old Freddy's costume? Who was Carl? What was meant by other Freddy Fazbears? Well, all I knew was I had something now. Suddenly I heard clanking from the hallway. Gotta give those last minute cliffhangers in there. Final goodbyes. I froze in fear. I didn't think anyone was in here. I certainly didn't see any sign of anyone anyway. I shone my flashlight into the hallway wall and saw no shadows or silhouettes of anything. Peeked out into the hallway with my flashlight and at first saw nothing. However, a second later, a rat crawled from under an old cup and into a hole in the wall. Second time I made that mistake. Chuckled, not chucked. Chuckled. This is why you proofread. This is why you proofread. That's all it was, a rat. I decided I had enough information to get me started, mainly because I just wanted to get out of this place. But before I left, there was something I wanted to do first. I went back towards the entrance of the building and walked into the stage. After maneuvering, I found myself at the entrance of the back room. I deeply exhaled, sighed, as I pushed open the door. I really didn't expect much to be inside, but I just wanted to make sure. Sure enough, I found all animatronic characters lying on the floor, exactly where they all were when I left them. Only now, time had clearly taken effect on them. All of their costumes were practically dust clinging onto the metal skeletons. The only way I could tell them apart was their accessories. I walked over to the one with red eyes, bow tie, and long ears, which I knew to be Bonnie the Bunny. He just lay there motionless, like I knew he was for a long time. I then looked at the endoskeleton with purple eyes and an apron that read, "Let's eat. Cheek of the damn chicken." Close to her was a robot with a hook on its hand and an eye botch. Foxy the Pirate Cove Pirate. I only hated him because he ran faster than I could have imagined. Then there was one I had kicked all across the room. The one with blue eyes, wearing a black top hat and holding a microphone. Freddy Fazbear. It was hard to believe that there were dead children stuffed into these suits once. It's harder to believe the children themselves possessed the costumes and attacked security guards for revenge. But as hard as it was to believe, it was true. "Well, guys," I told the animatronics, "it was great working with you. Have a nice life in the rubble." Before I turned around to leave, I caught a glimpse of a familiar yellow piece of paper. I picked it up and confirmed my suspicion of it being my only paycheck at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. A lousy paycheck of $120. I put it in my pocket. I mean, hey, you never know when you may need that kind of money. I went into the doorway and took a last glimpse of the room, as well as its mangled robot corpses on the floor. Wrong use of there's no apostrophe there. I finally left and got off the stage. I opened the front door and slowly turned around. This would really be my last time in this restaurant. All I had to say about that was good riddance. More research. I got home at around 5 a.m. and immediately began to work on researching Freddy Fazbear's Pizza again. According to the memo, there were other Freddy Fazbear's pizzas. I just had to find out how many more there were. After a minute, I came across a discovery. There were 3 other Freddy Fazbear's pizzas in the country. One was in California, one was in Florida, and one was in Wisconsin. I made progress, but now I need to find out which one the Golden Freddy suit was given to. I started to pull up the images from each of the restaurants. Maybe one of them had a Golden Freddy there. The one in California didn't show signs of a yellow Freddy Fazbear, just the regular brown one. The one in Florida had the regular brown Freddy too. That's when I found the one in Wisconsin. That's when I saw That's when I found the one in Wisconsin. That's when I saw the 4 animatronics on a poster, and Freddy was yellow. This was it. It had to be it. I just needed to go to Wisconsin ASAP and find the Golden Freddy suit. But of course, I could use a nap. So I went to bed and quickly fell asleep. I didn't realize how tired I was. After what seemed like a few minutes later, I heard Macy's voice. I opened my eyes and found her staring at me. "It's 7:30, she told me. "Still want to make it to the demolition?" I was actually debating it really hard. I wanted to see the place fall, but I also felt sorry for it because it wasn't the building's fault, it was the killer's fault. However, I made my decision. Yes, I just have to be Wisconsin bound later. Oh boy, we're kind of rushing through this, aren't we? I arrived at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza for the final time at 7:55 a.m. As I pulled up, I saw excavators and bulldozers and other vehicles in the parking lot. There were workers in the parking lot pointing and yelling and doing other official-looking things. I parked on the curb closest to the restaurant, and that would keep me out of danger of debris. Workers didn't seem to notice me or care, because they didn't go up to me and tell me to move. Finally, it was 8 a.m. I heard the engine of the excavator rev up and slowly work towards the entrance. I held my breath as it did. Crash! A giant arm smashed through the ceiling and brought down most of the roof with it. Broken glass from the windows and doors flew across the parking lot. Workers covered their face for protection. Crash! This time it went through the wall and it collapsed as well. I could make out the dining area and stage, only it was now covered in concrete and dust. Smash! I turned and saw the bulldozer plow through the side of the building, the side where my old security office was. I should have been upset, but I wasn't. The walls were quickly falling down and tidal waves of ash surfaced. One by one I could see final ash. Dust. Is that what I meant to say? Ash? Like they weren't burning the place. One by one I could see familiar rooms go down. Then I saw the back room clearly. The front wall was down, but that was it. I thought I could barely make out the robotic corpses on the floor. Crash. The ceiling above it fell on top of them all. I found myself giving a small smile at that. Finally, about half an hour later, quick demolition work, all that was left of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was a large, flat pile of concrete walls and roof, as well as some shattered red letters. I had no other business here, so I started my car and drove off. Now that it was out of the way, I had to get back to my main task, finding Golden Freddy. This scene was practically pointless, all things considered. I got home and planned out my route to the Wisconsin Freddy Fazbear's. It would be a lengthy trip, but it would be worth it. Mike? Macy asked from her bedroom. Yeah? How was it? How was what? You know, the demolition? Oh, that. I don't know. Nothing really special. Really? Yeah, just a simple teardown. Nothing big. Okay then. In a way, I wasn't lying. It was just a simple demolition, but I somehow got a joy out of it. Anyway, I was wondering if you want to go out for dinner tonight with Mom and Dad. Why? They're back from London and haven't seen you since accident. They're worried about you. Does it have to be tonight? Why? Do you have something else planned? Well, maybe this could wait till tomorrow. Wisconsin Freddy's would still be there tomorrow, and I haven't seen Mom and Dad in a while. They've been living in London for the past year and stop by occasionally. And by occasionally, I mean once in a blue moon. I couldn't pass a chance to see them. No, I don't. I'll do it. Great, I'll let them know. I looked back at the computer screen and saw my map to Wisconsin. As much as I knew I needed to do this, I knew it could wait. For now, I needed my best outfit for tonight. I'm taking way too long to get to the point. Way too long to get to the actual point of the story. Oh my goodness. Reservation for Schmidt, Macy told the man at the front. Ah, yes, Schmidt, he replied after looking through the reservation book. Back room, east corner. Thanks. Let's go, Mike. I cautiously walked behind her. I was a bit nervous after I heard him say back room. Mike, Macy, I suddenly heard a familiar voice call out. I looked up and saw my mom sitting at a table, waving her hand in the air. I could see Dad staring blankly at us right next to her. I gave a small smile as me and Macy sat at the table. Macy and I. Oh my goodness, Mikey, my mother gasped as she stared at my face. It had been a while since she'd seen me. She knows I'd been through a lot since then. Are you okay? She finally asked. Yeah, I'm fine now, I replied. I just got the cast off recently. Slight pain in my arms, but no big deal. No big deal? You broke both your arms and a leg. Sweetie, my dad suddenly said calmly, don't overwork yourself. Mom took a deep breath of relaxation. You're right, she told him. My apologies. I'm just grateful he's okay, Dad continued. I guess the Schmidt tradition of a fast and painless recovery lives on. I gave a small chuckle. I wanted to tell him that it wasn't exactly a painless recovery, but I didn't want to ruin the moment. The waiter then came to take our orders. After a quick look at the menu, I ordered smoked salmon with lemon. There was an option of a pizza burger, but I managed to pass. So what exactly happened? Mom asked. The injuries, she explained. How did you get them? I thought you said you were a night watchman. Watchman, not plural. He was not multiple men. He was a man. I replied. Somebody broke in the place and they managed to take me out. I told him he should have worked out more in school. Dad mumbled to Mom, thinking I couldn't hear him. Anyway, it's no big deal, I told him. Nothing was stolen or broken in the restaurant, so it was all good. Did they arrest the guy? Mom asked. No, he got away. So we all then just sat quietly. So, Macy, Mom asked with a smile, how's everything with you? Great, she replied. I got a job at Barnes & Noble yesterday, so there's a good income coming. Yeah, let me check the comments just to verify, but I didn't know that wasn't really She didn't add an S to the ends of Barnes & Noble. Can you not? Sound of being... Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember reading a comment once, like, saying they didn't know what Barnes & Noble was. Yeah, seeing by the comments, I'm pretty sure it's a bookstore. British. Yeah. Yeah, it was one of those things I wasn't aware or wasn't an everywhere thing, but yeah, Barnes & Noble, it's a bookstore. That's wonderful, Dad said with a smile. I thought you still worked at Target, I told my sister with confusion. Nah, I gave up on that place, she replied. Thought I told you that. When? Today, I thought, when you were on the computer looking up directions for somewhere. Directions? Mom asked. To where? They all stared at me. I wasn't good at lying under pressure. Wisconsin, I blurted out. Mike is such an idiot. I know it's a running joke with the fans of this series, but Mike truly is such an idiot. But Wisconsin, Dad asked. Why? For vacation. Vacation? Macy asked. Yeah, I was thinking of us going to Wisconsin Dells this summer. How are you gonna pay for that? I was gonna get another job. Where? Anywhere. Everyone at the table was silent. The waiter then arrived with our food and we began eating. I could feel myself sweating through my suit. Finally, it was time to order dessert. I got key lime pie. It's always been my favorite dessert. There wasn't much talk between me and my parents for the rest of the meal. It was basically Macy asking how London was and Mom and Dad telling how great everything was. Finally, we were done with our meal and we got up to leave. We head back to England in about a week, Dad told us. I'd like to spend more time together before we go. I'd like that too, Macy said with a smile. Just give us a call soon. Great, Mom said with a cheerful smile. We said our goodbyes and went on our way. As soon as me and Macy got in a car, she turned to me with a suspicious face. What? I asked. There's no way in hell you'd get another job willingly, even for a vacation, she told me. I just sighed. Hey, I finally learned to use that word. You got me, I told her. I wasn't looking for a vacation. What were you looking for? She asked. For another Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. She stared at me for a few seconds. Is that one being torn down too? She asked. I hope not, I replied. I then explained everything to her. The drawing, the memo, the poster, the Wisconsin Freddy Fazbear's, the visions. When I was done, she slowly nodded her head. Okay, she said. You gotta do what you gotta do. Maisie, you are a terrible sister. Terrible, terrible, terrible sister. Thanks, I replied with a smile. Just don't do anything stupid, she told me as she started the car. When will she learn that I may never be able to keep that promise? Gotta do what you gotta do. Worst sister ever. Facepalm. Macy, you're a horrible sister. I love this chick. What kind of sister is she? I want to come for him, but I can't. I'm buried under rocks. When you gotta die when you gotta die is basically what she's trying to say. Go with him. Yes, send him off to another killer. Oh my gosh. Macy is such an idiot. Yeah, if I could redo this series, yeah, I would not make Macy this stupid. I would not. Mike, maybe, but yeah, Macy, she's supposed to be the straight man. Yeah, she should not be this stupid. When we got home, I immediately began planning what I need for the Wisconsin trip. I admittedly didn't need much, but it didn't hurt to have a decent amount of things. The Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was about 6 hours away by car. It was lengthy, but it was the most convenient option. I grabbed some snacks, including pretzels, Twinkies, and goldfish. They weren't filling, I know, but they were delicious, and that was good enough for me. Are you sure you have to do this? Macy asked me as I stuffed snacks in my bag. Gonna get hungry, I replied. No, I mean, are you sure you have to go to Wisconsin to free that kid? Of course I'm sure, Macy, I said with shock. That kid really needs to be freed like all the other kids. I know, but could he really be causing trouble? You know, besides giving you the occasional nightmare? not about whether he's causing trouble, I explained. It's about whether he's going to be happy. I'm in sure those kids I'm sure those kids in the other suits weren't happy to be in those suits. They were dead, Mike. So maybe ghosts don't know that. What is this dialogue? What is this dialogue? Oh, hey, Slenderslav. Can't direct time, though if you had enough time, you can make it on David. Honestly, a thought running through my mind is once I've finished rereading all these stories, a thought that has run my mind is to, I guess, rewrite is the way to go, just to make it more of a definitive version, updated version. I mean, obviously I'd keep the originals up, but it would just be a fun writing exercise, if nothing else, just to rewrite the stories and, finally finish the finale after, almost 3 years, close to 3 years. I'm pretty sure it was 2019 when I started writing that. But yeah, that is something that has definitely crossed my mind. No promises that I would do it, but that is definitely something that's been crossing my mind. So maybe ghosts don't know that. Then what's the point? To let them move on, to keep them from living the same thing over and over again. She just stared at me inside. It looked like she was tearing up. It's just, she said, I don't want you getting hurt again. I won't, Mace. Just go with him if you're worried about him. Go. Macy, you are such an idiot. It wasn't until rereading these stories that I realized just how stupid Macy is. My gosh. You don't know that. There could be evil demon robots over there too. Even if there are, I don't plan to be there at night anyway. Still need to write Fallen for you. I haven't been doing it recently. Yeah, I've been slacking on all my other creative stuff, so it's just about me picking and choosing what I need to do. A big priority for me right now is making a certain video, which is going to be a certain video discussing a certain game that came out somewhat recently that may or may not be related to what I'm reading right now. I'll leave it at that. Still in the writing phase, but that's something to be on the lookout for. Even though I don't plan to be at night anyway. You don't plan to? Macy, just relax. Oh boy. He told an angry woman to relax. Yeah, if you're worried, just go with him. I didn't mean to shout that loud, but it was the only way to get her to stop talking. I'll call you when something happens. Like, not if something happens, when something happens. It's like he knows. You can get help from there. A person from a different state calling about something in another state. Yeah, that'll work. What was my... What? What is this dialogue? What is this? Oh, I thought I was better than this. New Year's resolutions are getting to the demo for Fallen for You and walk right through the story. Good resolution to have. I'm not necessarily setting on myself any goals and resolutions this year. Except just the basic of try to get more work done on the things I want to do. Just in general, just things I want to do, want to make. I just want to get those, as many of those done as possible. I don't want to set any specifics just because I want to set realistic goals for myself. She then said quietly, deeply exhaled. Okay, she finally said with a nod. Do this, then come straight back. I will, I swear. And then packed the rest of my things, which was just my phone charger and my iPod. If I left now, make it to Freddy. I'd make it to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza by 4 a.m. The restaurant opens at 8 a.m. That means I got some time to kill. I'll take a nap first, I told her. Extra energy won't kill me. She nodded and went to bed herself. She wished me good luck before she shut her lights off. I hope I wouldn't need too much of it. There's only 2 OCs that make an appearance in the first 3 chapters, so I just had to make free friends for them. Yeah. Hmm. I'm not sure of any resources off the top of my head to go for that. At 2 a.m., I walked out the door to begin my trip. I triple checked to make sure I had everything I needed or possibly need. Everything I needed or would possibly need. That's how I'd write that. After that, I simply got in the car and headed out. I live fairly close to the interstate, so getting there wasn't a problem. After that, it was a simple task of driving for 6 straight hours. Felt like I'd be fine, to be honest. The nap really helped me, and I made sure my music was loud enough to keep me up, but not so loud to distract me from the road. Passed out the cars on the way. There were minivans, pickup trucks, semis, even a limo. I wondered where they were all going this early in the morning. I then chuckled when I suddenly remembered I'd have no problem staying awake for 6 hours. I'd done it for 5 days straight months ago when I worked at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Of course, there weren't animatronic characters trying to kill me on the interstate. I hoped not anyway. What kind of logic is that, Mike? What kind of logic is that? Yeah, that just I don't want to get into that. That's just a stupid line. Anyway, I managed to drive for 2 hours without any sign of feeling tired, which is great. I looked at road signs and saw some cities I was passing by. Most were smaller towns, but some were recognizable. After another hour, I reached the city the map said would be about the halfway point, Chicago, Illinois, as opposed to Chicago, Kentucky. I've never been there before, but I could instantly see the traffic was as bad as they say it is. Luckily, I managed to keep my cool and drive through calmly. People around me weren't as relaxed. Horns were honking all around me. Realized being calm was essential for my life, especially after working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Too much panic at that place and you'd be a goner. Of course, I almost was one, but that's besides the point. Finally managed to pass through the town and kept on going. A while later, I saw a sign that read, "Welcome to Wisconsin." I was so close now. I could see sunlight slowly starting to shine on the horizon. Hopefully that would keep me more awake. As I drove through the state, I could see the beautiful landscape all around me. I really did have to admire this place's beauty. Forests and hills and empty fields surrounded me as I went through the roads. Finally, I got off the exit and continued down the road. By my calculations, it would be another 10 minutes before I came to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I wasn't sure how I felt about willingly going to this place, but it was too late to back out now. I looked at my clock and saw it was 7:50 a.m. Still had another 10 minutes before it opened, but I didn't have to go there when it opened. It closed at 9 p.m. I saw a Walmart nearby and pulled into the parking lot. When I did, I turned the car off and closed my eyes. I deserved a rest. I just hoped I wouldn't sleep too long. I opened my eyes and noticed the sky was getting darker. I looked at the clock. 6:14 p.m. I slept longer than I wanted to, but I wasn't too late. I started the car and pulled out of the parking lot. It was then a simple 10-minute drive to my destination. My heart seemed to stop when I saw it. The giant red letters that read Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Only this time all the letters were lit and the parking lot was packed. It was hard to find a spot, but I managed to get one a fair distance away from the restaurant. I walked in the building and was in total awe. It looked nothing like the pizzeria I was used to. It was colorful and loud and clean. There were a lot more children running around this one than I remembered seeing in the other one. The layout seemed exactly the same though, so that was good. It was easy to find my way around. That's when I looked at the stage and gasped. On the stage, singing their song, was Freddy Fazbear, Bonnie the Bunny, and Chica the Chicken. Only this time they looked new. The suits looked cleaner, and the robotic bodies seemed to be running more smoothly. They still looked the same, but they were just nicer. I then, out of curiosity, headed towards where the fourth animatronic character was. Sure enough, the curtain at Pirate Cove was wide open. Only Foxy the Pirate was on the stage, performing some sort of acting routine as a pirate. The children seemed adored by him. It's actually nice seeing Foxy without a torn costume. I could still see the stage from there. I smiled as I saw them sing. It made me realize that the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza wasn't bad after all. It was just a killer in my area. Oh, my goodness, if only we knew. If only I knew at the time. Because again, keep in mind, this was before Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was out. I'm pretty sure it was announced by this point. But like the game itself wasn't there. So we didn't have any idea of like, this was before Purple Guy was a thing, okay? This was before FNAF 2 was when Purple Guy was first introduced. And that's what he was called at the time, was Purple Guy. Oh, my goodness. There's a little throwback for you. But yeah. But at the time, we had no idea just how corrupted Fazbear Entertainment and Fatty Fazbear's Pizza really was. I then suddenly realized something. Freddy was still brown. If the golden Freddy suit was here, shouldn't he be golden? Okay, kiddies, Freddy said in a southern accent. I couldn't believe I just heard Freddy talk. We all need a pizza break, but we'll be back one more time before y'all have to leave for the night. The kids cheered as the curtain closed and they begged their parents for more pizza. Almost on cue, a group of waiters came out carrying a bunch of hot pizza. A weird name to call him. Purple Guy? Yeah, well, that was before the name. That was years, multiple, before William Afton was a thing. Before we learned the name William Afton, so Purple Guy was all we had at the time. I suddenly realized I never had a Freddy Fazbear pizza before. I was a bit curious, to be honest. When nobody seemed to be looking, I swiped a slice from one of the thousands of pizzas and took a bite. Not gonna lie, it was delicious. And this line right here. I especially liked the white meat on top. It looked like chicken, but it didn't seem to taste like it though. I shrugged it off and kept eating. That's a line I would change. That line right there. That line right there just completely ruined any and all mystery I was trying to... Any and all twists I was trying to come up with. That one line in particular just... I should have just said it was chicken. That's all I should have done. I should have just said it was chicken. Not try to imply it could have been anything else. Just, it was chicken. It's chicken. I should have just... So as you can tell, I was not good at writing plot twists. I then suddenly remembered my mission, but I had no idea how to accomplish it. It's not like I could go backstage. That's for employees only. Maybe it was a sign from God or pure luck, but I saw a giant help wanted sign on the wall. I walked up to it and took a look at it. I laughed when I did. They were looking for a nighttime security guard. It said to talk to the manager for details. White meat. Oh yeah, exactly. It's obvious. It's obvious what it is. And I didn't even I'm still kicking myself. I'm still kicking myself for that. Because there was no mystery to be had there. None. There was no mystery to be had. Since the layout was the same, I decided to walk towards the manager's office. It was crazy that I of all people would do this, but if it worked, it would be beyond worth it. Interview again. I knocked on the door of the manager's office. I heard movement inside. The door was open, and I was shocked. Not the door. The door wasn't shocked. I was shocked. It was a young woman, possibly in her late 20s. Can I help you? She asked. I'm here about the security job, I replied. Oh, really? She asked with a giant smile. Well, please, come in. I then thanked her and walked into the office. It was pretty well organized in here. Nothing seemed out of place. So, she said, what's your name? Mike Schmidt, I replied. Why do you want to work here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? Because I feel more than qualified. How so? I worked at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza a few months ago. Specifically, the night security shift. Really? Which one? I told her and my eyes widened. Oh my, that one? Yeah, I admitted. My goodness. Well, you won't have a problem like that here, I can assure you. Good to hear. Now, Mr. Schmidt, you're the only person I've had come about the offer. Seeing as how you're quite experienced, I think you have the best potential. I wish job interviews were this easy. You just walk right in. No credentials, no references, nothing. Just come in. I worked here before. Great. You're the only one who applied. You're hired. I wish that's how it worked. Can you tell I didn't have much experience getting jobs when I wrote this? Can you tell? Good to hear. How soon can you work? As soon as I can. How about tonight at midnight? Sounds great. Welcome aboard, Mr. Schmidt. We both stood up and shook hands. That's like... that's gotta be like a world record for fastest job interview. Oh my goodness. Almost gets killed, possessed animatronics, and what is he doing? Gets a job with the same franchise again. Oh yeah, even he's calling himself stupid for it. And all this just so he can have a valid reason to go into the back room and check on the costumes there. Like, are you starting to see why I knew that this was gonna be an interesting read? Just because I was just like, I knew from just my own memories just how unprofessional and unpolished this story was. Freddy be like, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? I actually felt great knowing I had another job. Granted, I only did it to look backstage, but hey, it's not like I had anything to worry about in this place, right? I wouldn't be so sure, Mikey. Remember reading this, it's been so long. Yeah, it's definitely been a long time since I've read it myself. And my reactions have definitely been less than positive, to put it simply. I still had a while before my shift ended, so I just hung out at the place until closing time. Sure enough, Freddy and his friends came out one more time and played more songs. Admittedly, they were very catchy. Alright, kiddies, Freddy told the kids. It's time for us to get some sleep. The kids all awed with upset tones. But don't worry, we'll be back here for you tomorrow. The kids all cheered. I gave a small smile as I wondered if the old Freddy Fazbear's Pizza used to be like this. Say goodnight, Bonnie, Freddy told the purple bunny. Good night, Bonnie told everyone. He had an average masculine voice. Say goodnight, Chica. Good night, Bonnie, the kids replied. Say goodnight, Chica. Good night, everybody, the robotic yellow chicken said with a wave. Her voice was high-pitched, but it was better than that awful screeching her and the others made back home. I'm surprised Mike hasn't gotten PTSD. Yeah, that is something I feel like I should have touched upon a little bit. But clearly only surface level thought was put into this story. I went back and privated my old stories. Remember getting some ready discs for you. Well, I'm glad. Hopefully it was good advice. Because if it was around the time I was writing this, it may not be the best advice in the world, but I definitely hope it helped somewhat. And I personally don't subscribe to the idea of privating or deleting old work. Because, well, one, like, if I deleted these stories just because I felt like they didn't hold up, we wouldn't be having this stream. We wouldn't be able to look back and laugh at these. And at the end of the day, it's up to you what you want to do with your own work, but I personally just like going back just to see how much you've improved. That's my philosophy. Because the saying I heard goes is, if you look back at your old work and cringe, then that just means you've improved. And I'm cringing quite a bit while reading this, so I feel like I've improved a lot. Good night, Chica, the kids replied. Say good night, Foxy. Yar! The pirate fox called from Pirate Cove. Good night, you landlubbers. Good night, Foxy. I could also hear some kids say a few yars. And don't forget your good night, Freddy, Bonnie and Chica said simultaneously. I won't, the frown bear said with a chuckle. Good night, children. Good night, Freddy, all the kids shouted back. When it comes to writing fanfics like this, PTSD is not only a necessary addition to a character's development, but it's a detailed one at that. Right? Yeah. Like I said, only surface level thought was put into this story. So Yeah, definitely something. Yeah, if I do go to my plan of rewriting these stories, that's definitely something I'm gonna try and touch upon. Okay, everyone. I heard the manager say through the speakers, "It's 5 minutes till closing time. Please gather your things and head home for the night. We hope to see you all tomorrow for another magical day at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza." With that, the parents got up and gathered their children. Many kids were begging not to leave, but they were jagged up by their parents anyway. By 9 o'clock, the place was empty. The only people inside were me and the manager, as well as a few employees. "I got nothing else to do until my shift," I admitted to the manager. "Well, I guess you can stay here," she told me, "as long as you don't cause trouble." "I won't," I swore. I realized I was the worst person to keep promises. She then nodded and went around to the other employees. My phone then rang. I pulled it out and saw it was Macy. I had forgotten about her. This was going to be fun to explain. I answered the phone. "Hello?" I answered. "Mike," she asked in a worried tone. "It's late. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Macy. I got everything figured out." "What do you mean? Did you find the suit yet?" "Not yet, but I think I will tonight." "What do you mean?" "I got a job here." Silence, as expected. "Why?" she finally asked. It's the only way I can get in the backstage area." "Is it the only way?" "It is, but I should be fine. This place is amazing." "I'm just worried." "I know, but I'll be fine, Mike. I swear." "Okay. I love you, Mike." "I love you too, Macy. I'll call you later." "Okay. Good night, and good luck." She hung up. I put my phone away. I sort of felt nervous about my new job, but what was the worst that could happen? Oh, well, I'm glad it did help. There been had to rewrite them. I still write, and I have to say it because of that little act of kindness. I was actually planning to write a series and we're going to work on. Okay, go for it. Yeah, absolutely, go for it. If you want to write it, go for it. Yeah, and I'm glad I could help you. Definitely. Do you understand everything, Mr. Schmidt? The manager asked as I sat in my security office. "I think so," I replied. "Just sit here, watch the cameras, and report anything unusual?" "Pretty much," she said with a smile. "Hey, quick question," I said. "Yes?" "If necessary, can I leave this office to further investigate anything suspicious?" "Of course, as long as you have a legitimate reason." "Great." She then looked at her watch. I still have my first written work. I'm not quite sure what my first written work ever is. I know for sure these stories were not it. I know on Wattpad, my first ever written story was a Purge fan fiction of the series from the Purge series, and that's another one I kind of want to revisit because there are things. I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Oh, it's almost midnight. Good luck. Wait a minute. Yes? Don't I have to sign a contract? A contract? What for? So you guarantee I don't do anything bad? Mr. Schmidt, I can assure you I trust all my employees. I don't need them to sign a silly piece of paper. Really? Of course. Wow. Okay then, I'm ready for my shift. Good to hear. Remember, if anything is not right, report it immediately before investigating. Got it? Got it. Alright, have fun. I'll try. She smiled and left the office. I could hear the front doors open and close. A lock sound came afterwards. I was now officially alone here. I was truly impressed with this place. The atmosphere was pleasant, the people were nice, and the office was clean. It was truly remarkable. Best part was I had unlimited power. Not that it mattered. I didn't see a use for using the doors or cameras. Suddenly I heard a familiar chime. I looked and saw the clock rang 12 a.m. My shift started. I could tell that this time I had nothing to worry about that I knew of. I can imagine Mike falling asleep in the office from boredom due to work in a safe restaurant and gets attacked, which results in him waking up. Yeah. I don't think that's what happens in the story, but I feel like something similar happened, if I remember correctly. I turned on the camera feed and saw the animatronics on stage. It was the same view of them from the other pizzeria, but it somehow looked like a nicer view. The other camera views were all the same as well. Again, though, they looked nicer. I really felt like I was going to enjoy this place. It felt weird not getting a phone call. Normally, I got a call from that old employee who worked at the security office before me. I don't think I fully know what happened to him, but I have a strong guess. Pretty soon, it was 3 a.m. This was usually the time when my job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza became a living hell on the first night. However, there seemed to be no signs of movement. I smiled at the sight. I decided to flip through all the cameras. Though, my goodness, this is a short chapter. I smiled at the sight. I decided to flip through the cameras, though, just to look for any signs of anything unusual. I was shocked when I got to the kitchen camera. It was audio only, just like the other one. Was that mandatory or something? Why even have a camera? I then got to the backstage camera. It looked a lot more organized in there than the other one. But what I was really looking for was a sign of Golden Freddy. I couldn't see a sign of him though. But there was a blind spot in the camera, I think. I could try and get in there to look for him, but I would need an excuse first. That's when I heard a clanking sound coming from the screen. I couldn't see anything unusual, but I'd call it an excuse for investigating. I then got out of my office to head backstage. Hopefully there wouldn't be any problems, and hopefully I could finally find Golden Freddy. I walked to the backstage area and looked all around. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. All I saw was empty costumes and heads, none of which were golden. I then realized the source of the noise. One of the racks was knocked over. It looked like it was just too heavy. I was upset and worried. There wasn't a Golden Freddy costume anywhere in here, and if it was, where would it be? I then sighed and gave up. Maybe I'd have to wait another night to find something of importance. I walked out of the backstage area and into the dining room and to head back to the office. That's when I heard the moaning. I paused when I heard it. I couldn't tell where it came from, but it was definitely close, maybe a few rooms down the hallway. I realized the best way to figure it out for sure was the cameras. I quickly ran down the hallway and into my office. When I sat down, I instantly pulled open the screen. I flipped through them all, looking for any sign of the source of the moaning. None of the camera views showed anything out of the ordinary, but one camera came off as odd, the kitchen. Not because the view was out, but because I heard a strange noise coming from there. It sounded like moaning, but I couldn't be sure. What was going on? Chiming ensued. I looked at the clock. It was 6 a.m. already. Time somehow passed really quickly. Almost on cue, I heard the front door open. Mr. Schmidt? It was the manager. Yes, I replied. Everything okay? Kinda. Kinda. I heard a noise coming from the kitchen. Oh, I forgot to tell you, she said as she peered in the doorway with a smile. The ovens are pretty old. They can get a little creaky sometimes. Oh? Yep. Sorry, I should have told you. No, it's fine. Just doing my job and reporting anything suspicious. Glad to hear it. I then left the office and restaurant altogether. When I got into my car, I stopped. I didn't know where to go now. Not like I could just go home. Maybe there was a hotel I could spend the day at. There had to be one somewhere. I didn't totally believe the whole oven crap. I mean, it was possible, but that noise didn't sound like a machine. It sounded human. But there was no way there was anything wrong with this place. No way. You keep telling yourself that, Michael. Well, needless to say, Macy was pissed. I called her from a nearby hotel I was staying at and explained everything. She was angry that I was doing this for something that might not even be there at all. I agreed it might be for nothing, but if something was going on there, I needed to figure out what. To be honest, I don't really care about Golden Freddy at this point. I just want to know what's going on in the kitchen. After she calmed down, she thanked me for calling her and she wished me luck finding Golden Freddy. I thanked her back and told her I'd be fine. With that, I laid in my bed and slept. After a while, I opened my eyes and saw it was really bright out. I looked at my clock and saw it was noon. I didn't get as much sleep as I wanted to, but it was still a decent amount. Excuse me. My stomach suddenly tightened and made a loud gurgling sound. I realized right there that I hadn't eaten anything since that slice of pizza yesterday. That slice of delicious pizza. I decided to get up and head to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I was pretty hungry, and it was the only food in the area that I knew of. Plus, there's always a possible employee discount. I drove over and entered the building. Sure enough, the place was packed with little children running around. The manager was up front, greeting customers and guests. She smiled when she saw me. You're here? I have no excuse for that. I have no excuse. Ugh. I have no excuse for that. You're here a little early, she told me. I'm not here for my job, I replied. I'm here for my lunch. Really? Yeah, I gotta say, your pizza is pretty good. Well, thank you. She then pointed to an empty table I could sit at, which I proceeded to do. Order whatever you like, Mr. Schmidt, the waitress, who looked around my age, said with a smile. The manager said it's on the house. Wow, I was just expecting a discount. She just gave a small smile and left me to let me decide. There were a lot of pizzas with different toppings and sizes. It all looked amazing. One pizza got my eye. The one called the Children Pleaser. Okay, first of all, what is that name? Children. That is... First of all, that name. And secondly, it was a large pizza with delicious mozzarella cheese, signature Freddy Fazbear tomato sauce, and our amazing mystery meat. Again, chicken. Just say it was chicken. That's all you had to do. Just say it was chicken. That's all I had to do. Any plot twists, plot reveals I was going for, I did a terrible job setting it up. I did an absolutely terrible job setting it up. The picture showed the pizza I had eaten yesterday. It was really delicious, so why not? The waitress, who I saw was named Jamie, came back and I gave my order. Jamie. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jamie. Good choice, she replied as she wrote on her notepad. We'll have it before the end of the show. Almost on cue, the stage curtain opened up, revealing the animals ready for singing. Good afternoon, kiddies, Freddy told the audience in his southern accent. Good afternoon, Freddy, the kids all called back. Are y'all ready for our show? Yes. Alrighty then. Ready, Bonnie? Ready, Freddy, the bunny replied. Ready, Chica? Ready, Freddy, Chicken said with a squeaky voice. Let's go then. They all then sang their songs. I swore I'd go nuts by the time I was ready to go back home. They then sang their songs. I swore, right before the third song ended, Jamie came back with my Children Pleaser. Again, what is that name? Children Pleaser. I thanked her and proceeded to go upstairs. 779 comments on this section. It was a bit hotter, but it was just as delicious as yesterday. I still wasn't sure what the mystery meat was. It tasted like a mixture of chicken and pork. It was quite peculiar, but it was still delicious. Oh my goodness, 779 comments. How did this get so tempted? They say pork is the closest thing to the taste of human meat. Why they had to know what tastes like most of them? Why is this so disturbing? Kids, this is why vegetarianism is great. Because you're less likely to eat. Don't be silly. Of course it's not human meat. It's just a crossbred of chicken and pig. Cannibalism, people. Mike equals cannibal. Cannibalism. Ew. Children's Special or the Fazbear Special. Yeah, those are significantly better names than Children Pleaser. that just there's no. I can't say that without feeling gross. I guess that's fitting for the pizza itself, but not that kind of gross. By the time I finished half my pizza, Freddy and his friends were done performing for the afternoon. We'll be back soon, kiddies, he told everyone. Until then, get ready, because in 10 minutes, our friend Foxy will perform for y'all at Pirate Cove. With that, the animals played their closing music as the curtains closed. You heard Freddy, the manager said over the speaker. In 10 minutes, the show at Pirate Cove will be starting. Head over there now and enjoy the show. Almost instantly, kids got up and bolted to Pirate Cove. As much as I wanted to stay to watch Foxy, I decided I'd better head back to the hotel. I'd still need more sleep for my shift tonight. Children Pleaser. Children Pleaser sounds like a menu item at Subway. Oh, I probably shouldn't be laughing at that, but that was good. That's a good one. I asked Jamie for a takeout box, which she gladly gave me. I packed up my pizza and I headed out. I'll see you tonight, Mr. Schmidt, the manager called to me with a wave. I waved back with a smile and I left for the hotel. I realized that tonight I would really need to work on finding any clues to Golden Freddy's whereabouts, and hopefully in the process figure out this place's secret. After a nice long sleep, I woke up and got ready for my shift. It was going to possibly be an interesting one, I knew that. I pulled up to the pizzeria at 11:30 p.m. Hey, earlier is better than later. I walked in and found the manager and Jamie sitting at a table. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but all I could tell was it wasn't good. Jamie was crying pretty hard. When they heard the door, they both turned towards it and saw me. Ah, Mr. Schmidt, the manager said with a surprised look. You're still here a little early. I was bored and couldn't pass time, I replied. What's going on here? Oh, it's nothing, Jamie replied as she wiped her eyes. I just got fired, that's all. What? Why? I caught her snooping around places, the manager replied. Places only employees with my direct permission can look around. Oh, I'm sorry, Jamie, I told the waitress. It's okay, Mike, she replied as she pulled out a tissue and blew her nose. I had it coming. Jamie, please turn in your uniform and meet me back here in 10 minutes. Yes, ma'am. Jamie then got up and walked towards the restrooms. Mike, you could come back a little later if you like, the manager then said to me. Actually, I replied, I'd like to talk to her for a minute. Why? She really looks like she needs someone right now. Fine, but she's still expected to be here in 10 minutes. It's alright, I won't talk long. I then went down the hallways she went towards. I managed to catch her before she went inside. Jamie, I called out. She turned around to look at me. Her face was as red as Foxy. Yes, she asked as she wiped her eyes. Are you going to be okay? I asked as I walked up to her. I don't know. I needed this job so much. It's the only way to pay through college. Can you imagine? I wish a minimum wage job was enough to get you through college. And I'm not even a college student, and I still wish it was that easy. Well, cheer up. I'm sure you'll find another job. I don't know. I'm not good at anything else but waiting tables. I'm sure there are other restaurants around here you can work at. Well, there's Pizza Hut, but I'm not a huge fan. And no, that wasn't projection. That was just me. I don't even know what my thought process was there. But no, I actually do enjoy Pizza Hut, so just for the record. Hey, it's something, I suppose. Here. I then grabbed a napkin from the floor and pulled out a pen. Where did he get a pen? And began writing. A few seconds later, I gave her the napkin. If you need to talk, call me, okay? Okay, thanks. Anytime. She then gave a small smile and went to the restroom. I really felt sorry for her. Suddenly, I remembered I forgot to ask her where she was snooping and what was wrong with it. Oh well, hopefully it wouldn't concern me at all. You don't say. I believe this is the chapter when things start going down. After I left to wait for my shift to start, I drove around the area. There were actually a lot of restaurants nearby, including a McDonald's, Red Lobster's, Chili's, and as Jamie said, a Pizza Hut. There were plenty of other places she could get a job at. Anyway, after a while, I finally arrived back at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. It was 11:58. Hopefully the manager wouldn't call this too early. I went inside and it somehow felt like a different atmosphere. Everything still looked the same, but there was just a different feeling in the air. I couldn't really tell what it was, though. Anyway, I heard footsteps approach from the hallway. It was the manager, but she looked different. She wasn't wearing her smile. She was completely expressionless. The office is ready when you are, Mr. Schmidt, she told me coldly. It was like she was a completely different person. She then left the building and locked the doors behind her. I was now getting a little worried, but I still had a job to do. The clock chimed. Midnight. My shift had begun. I went to my security office and sat in the chair. I pulled open the camera screen and saw everything was in perfect order. I found myself staring at the kitchen camera. Even though there was no video feed, I still stared at it. I really wanted to know what secrets this room holds, but the manager said I needed a good reason to investigate. Then I heard it, the strange moaning sound again. The one the manager claimed was just the oven. I suppose it did sound more like metal settling than I realized. I didn't really think much about it. I just flipped through the other cameras to see if anything was different, which nothing seemed to be. I then found myself back on the kitchen camera. At first, there was no audio. Then I heard the sound again. It sounded louder, and somehow less mechanical. Then I heard something an old oven would never say. Mike? My heart started pumping fast. Did I just hear that right? Mike. What the hell? Help me. If this wasn't a good reason to check out the kitchen, I don't know what is. I bolted out of the office and ran towards the kitchen at full sprint. When I finally made it to the kitchen doors, I stopped. It was really dark in there. I pulled out my flashlight and turned it on. At first, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. It just looked like a regular restaurant kitchen with ovens and stoves and cabinets and shelves and other stuff. There are too many ands in that sentence. Then I heard the moaning again. It sounded extremely close. I held my breath as I walked into the kitchen. I could see ovens and fryers and other equipment around the room. Everything seemed pretty normal. There were also open cabinets containing flour and tomatoes and cheese. Seemed normal enough. Further along I got in the kitchen, the more I wondered what was wrong with this place. If there even was anything. It just seemed like a normal pizzeria kitchen. I then got to a giant metal door labeled Meat Locker that was slightly ajar. I almost walked past it. Then I heard something from inside. Hello? I froze dead in my tracks. It was insanely close. I turned towards the door and slowly walked towards it. I was scared to open it, but I couldn't just let this go. I grabbed the metal handle and threw open the door. When I did, I shone my flashlight inside, though I wish I hadn't, as I gasped in total horror. Right in front of me in the locker was Jamie, naked, with a swollen and bruised face, hanging by her waist, covered in blood, missing her legs. I can never look at meat the same way again. Oh, OML. I'm gonna remember this every time I think of Mystery Meat. I'll never see pizza the same way again. Holy shit. Kind of funny how naked was listed first. Wow, Mark. Well, it's hard to not notice. Yeah. For the record, the reason I listed that first was because A, it was immediately obvious, but it was the least disturbing thing of everything in that description. Like it's progressing from least disturbing to most disturbing. Oh well, the pizza has legs. Why you gotta eat your people, Mike? Jamie? I said as I could finally speak. Mike, Jesus, what happened to you? Mike, get away from here. Hang on, I'll get you out. I then ran to the locker to try and free her. She was being suspended from her waist by a belt and a chain connected to the ceiling. Mike, please, get out. Stay with me, Jamie. I'll get you out. Save yourself. I unhooked the belt and caught her bloody body in my arms. Then carefully laid her down and gently slapped her face. I could have worded that a bit better. But... Jamie, I told her. No response. Jamie! Nothing. It was too late. She was gone. I felt like throwing up. What the hell was going on? Why was Jamie hanging in a meat locker? Why was her face swollen? Where the fuck were her legs? I then picked up my flashlight and shone it around the locker. I gasped when I did. Inside the locker was nothing but hanging bodies. Some were missing their arms. Some were missing their legs. Some were missing their chests. It even looked like some were missing parts. I shouldn't be laughing this hard at that. I shouldn't be laughing that hard at that line. A good majority of the bodies were badly decomposed. A lot of their faces were unrecognizable. I couldn't tell if some were men or women. I couldn't handle it anymore. I ran out of the meat locker and back into the kitchen for fresh air. As I deeply gasped for a breath, I asked myself why there were bodies in here. A thought hit me. A thought that made me hurl my lunch onto the floor. There was only one good reason for a human being to be in a meat locker with missing limbs. They were being cooked and served. And here I thought being stuffed into a robot suit was the worst that could happen here. We have a lot of smart cookies you figured out. Maybe I made it too obvious. No, you didn't make it too obvious. No, you didn't make it too obvious. I slowly turned back towards the meat locker. The locker full of people. What sick, twisted mind would do this? Hello? A voice from inside the locker called out. It sounded like a man. Hello? It called again. Please, help. Please. I ran back into the locker, trying not to look at Jamie as I did. Hello? I called out. Where are you? I'm in the corner over here. I shone my flashlight around the room, searching for the corner in question. I finally found it, and was shocked with what I saw. It was a man with long black beard and longer black hair. He was dressed in a dirty and bloody white dress shirt and equally filthy and bloody khaki pants. He looked unimaginably thin. Thank you for finding me, he said slowly and softly. What the hell is happening? I asked. Who are you? I'm the manager. What? No, you're not. The manager's a woman. That's my daughter. She kidnapped me years ago and locked me in here. What? Why? She's not really right in the head. Okay, what the hell is going on? Well, it started a few years ago. I was just starting my new job as the manager of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. My daughter, Kenzie, was so happy. She loves this place. Anyway, it was a year later when it happened. Kenzie loved this place so much that she decided she wanted to run the place. So at the end of the night, she lured me into the kitchen and knocked me out. I woke up here in the meat locker. Why haven't you escaped? I demanded to know. He replied by moving his body to reveal a giant chain tied to the wall at his waist. But it's not like I'm a total prisoner. She still comes here at night and feeds me leftover pizza. Mainly the children pleaser. You mean she feeds you, you know? Yes, she feeds me human meat. She's been feeding everyone human meat for years. But why? You've had the pizza, right? Yeah. How'd it taste? I just stared at him. I knew where he was getting at. Well, he asked again. It was good, I finally replied. He gave a nod. It was delicious and cheap, he told me. It was all her idea. Who knew it would have been a good one? It's not, though. It's not. That's not a good idea. No, that's not a good idea. No. But it's still wrong and illegal. You think I haven't tried telling her that? She refuses to believe me, saying I'm just trying to ruin her business. That's messed up. Well, I just need to get out of here and I can stop her. I'm her father, and I'm a lot stronger than her despite my appearance. Okay, hang on. I then reached down to try and free him. Excuse me, Mr. Schmidt. I turned around and saw Kenzie in the doorway, still housing a blank look and holding a chainsaw in her hand. I wouldn't do that if I were you, she said coldly, unless you want to end up like her. She then pointed at Jamie's legless corpse. I slowly stood up. I realized I might not make it out alive. A miracle would save me now. About that, Michael. You're gonna get your miracle. Okay, Mr. Schmidt, Kenzie said blankly. I don't want to hurt you. I just want you to back away from him. Kenzie, I told her. Why? Don't you realize what you're doing? I'm making Freddy Fazbear's Pizza better than it's ever been before. You're feeding people. To other people. What's wrong with that? You said it yourself. Our pizza's delicious. She really got me there. Is her last name Sawyer? She doesn't canonically have a last name, so yeah, it could be whatever you want. And it's not like I chose anybody. I picked the people nobody would ever miss. What about Jamie? She's a college student. Someone will notice she's gone. Don't worry, I'll file a missing person report within 90 days, or until the premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached, carpets replaced, you know. I couldn't believe it. That stupid legal shit applied to this restaurant as well? You're crazy, was all I could say. That did it. She then proceeded to start the chainsaw. Crazier than you think, she shouted over the roaring of the machine. This was it. There's no way I'd be able to outrun or outsmart a lunatic with a chainsaw. I'm doomed. Suddenly, the lights went out. The chainsaw stopped as well. It was completely pitch black. What happened? Kenzie asked. What's going on? I unfortunately didn't have an answer. That's when I heard it. It's from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I figured it was some sort of reference. But I actually haven't seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so sue me if you want. That's when I heard it. A music box type song echoing through the room. A song that had been planted in my brain for months. What is that? Kenzie screamed. Who's making that noise? So she could hear it too. But I don't understand how or why the music is playing. There's no way it should be. Then the music stopped. No noise, just blank silence. What are you trying to pull, Mr. Schmidt? I just sat there and didn't reply. If what I thought was happening, I needed to stay perfectly still. Answer me, you son of a... I saw a giant figure appear in front of her. A giant familiar figure holding a microphone and wearing a top hat. The figure then quickly grabbed Kenzie by the arm and pulled her out of the locker. She was screaming as she was dragged. I saw and heard the chainsaw fall out of her hand. I stayed in the locker as she was pulled from the kitchen. Her screams still echoed through the building. I finally got up and went after them. Not because I wanted to help her, but because I wanted to see what would happen to her. I left the kitchen and heard her screams coming from the dining room area. As I headed that way, I got a view of the stage and my jaw dropped. Freddy was missing, and Bonnie and Chica were walking on the platform. I hid around the corner to avoid being detected. They then walked towards the backstage area. A second later, I saw Foxy dash up the stage and through the door as well. I knew this wouldn't end well for her. Kenzie could still be screaming through the building. I then ran towards the backstage and poked my head through. I gasped as I saw all four of the animatronics grabbing Kenzie by all four of her limbs. She was trying her best to wiggle and squirm and free herself, but it just wasn't working. That's when it happened. They moved her towards an empty Freddy Fazbear suit. I knew exactly what was happening. Bonnie took her right arm and quickly stuffed it into the suit's right arm. She screamed in pain as she did. Chica then did the same with her left leg. Foxy shoved her left arm into the suit. Freddy stuffed the right leg. All that was left was her head. She then stared at me with horror. I just smiled with glee. Do you still love this place? I asked her rhetorically. With that, Freddy grabbed her head and pressed it into the suit's head. It took a few thrusts, but it managed to fit. That's what she said. After her head finally slid in, a loud squish was heard. Then she stopped moving. Freddy took his hands off and slowly turned towards me. The other animatronics did as well. I just stared back in shock. Freddy then grabbed the suit and slowly turned it around. What I saw was another Freddy Fazbear, only this one had bloody eye sockets and teeth. It's what was left of Kenzie. I smiled at the sight. I then turned towards the animatronics. Thanks, I simply told them. Suddenly, a bright light flashed. After that, 4 bright silhouettes appeared in front of the animatronic characters. 4 silhouettes of children. I realized who they were. The children I had freed months earlier. They've come back to help me. Another bright light flashed. When it went away, the children were gone, but the animatronics were still standing there. Why would they come back? To help him. He freed them. He freed them, so this was their way of paying him back. I had a big smile. The nightmare was over. Now I had one more job to do. A job that brought me to this damn hellhole in the first place. Yeah, remember when the story was about finding Golden Freddy? I sure didn't. Progress. Finally. I walked back to the meat locker and found the real manager still there. He stared at me when he saw me. So, he said quietly, is Kenzie... I slowly nodded my head. He then let out a sigh. I suppose it was for the best, he finally replied. Alright, I'm gonna get you out now, I told him. I then grabbed the chainsaw from the floor and told him to move away from the wall. When he did, I started up and cut the chain off. It took no effort at all. Thank you, he told me when he slowly stood up. I wonder how long it's been since he stood up on his own. Can I ask you something? He asked. Of course, I replied. What brought you here to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza anyway? Well, I'm actually looking for something. What would that be? It's a Freddy Fazbear suit, but it's gold colored. I thought you may have it. You know, I just might. Really? We got a gold Freddy Fazbear suit a few years ago. We advertised it a bit with flyers and posters, but one of the employees claimed it smelled too awful. So I put it in the storage locker a few minutes away until I could find time to clean it. That night is when Kenzie took over. So it's still there? Hopefully. Why? What's so important about it? It's a long story. Do you have the key to the lock? He then reached into his pocket and tossed me a key. I never had time to do anything with it, he explained. Thank you so much, I told him happily. I then paused. Are you gonna be okay? I think so, he replied with a nod. I mean, it'll be fun explaining to the authorities what happened here. I guess it will be hard to believe. Were the cameras rolling when it happened? Yeah. Well, hopefully that'll clear us as suspects. No kidding. We both then laughed. Yeah, he's taking the death of his daughter just a little too well. Like, I know what she did, obviously, but he's taking that a little too well. Well, I have to go do something now, I told him. I hope you stay safe. I will, he replied with a smile. With that, I ran out of the locker and out of the restaurant. As I got into my car, I realized I was so close to completing my mission. All I had to do was free the child, and I'd be free of this place for good. It wasn't hard to find the storage locker the manager was talking about. It was just down the road from the restaurant. Fortunately, the number of the locker was on the key, so that helped a lot. Finally found the right locker. Locker 666. A bit creepy, if you ask me. Anyway, I put the key in the lock and tried turning it. Turned perfectly and the lock fell off. This was it. The moment I've been looking forward to since I left for Wisconsin. I was going to free the spirit trapped in Golden Freddy. I pulled open the locker door and was instantly greeted with the stench of a decomposing body. I looked into the locker and gasped when I saw it. Sitting in the corner in a slouched position was a Freddy Fazbear suit, completely yellow, sporting a blue top hat, with no signs of a metal interior. I had done it. I had found Golden Freddy. I walked to the suit and stared at it. It was definitely the source of the foul odor. I looked into the Golden Freddy's eyeless sockets and deeply exhaled. This poor kid was not only killed and stuffed into a costume, but was shipped off to another state. I felt so bad for the family. Anyway, I now had to do what I needed to do. I grabbed Golden Freddy's head and pulled it off. Sure enough, sitting inside was a decomposing body of a little boy. His face and age were unrecognizable, but I could make out small amounts of blonde hair. Suddenly, there was a bright flash. A second later, the suit collapsed more than it already was. Just as I expected, the body of the boy was gone. A huge grin spawned on my face. Kind of funny now that we know, Golden Freddy was possessed by a little girl, but again, we only had the first game. I did it. I freed the 5 missing children killed at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I could finally be at peace. I could live a normal life again. Wait until Macy hears about all the shit I've been through in Wisconsin. Glad to have you back, Mike, Macy told me a few days later. Glad to be back, I replied with a smile. So, were they really cooking people? I'm afraid so. That's awful. Well, we did what we could. We called the cops and reported the missing people, including Jamie. That's good. What about the restaurant? Well, needless to say, it's being closed. That company's not having good luck. I guess not. You know, I couldn't help but notice you seem to take what happened to Jamie really personally. Well, not gonna lie, I thought she was kinda cute. I have no words. Oh? I gave her my number to see if she would call. I wish she did when she was in trouble, though. Maybe she never got the chance. Maybe Kenzie knocked her out and took her phone. As awful as it sounds, I hope that's what happened. Or maybe she just wasn't interested. Maybe she just wasn't interested, Mike. Did that thought ever cross your mind? But in the end, you freed Golden Freddy, right? Of course. Then I guess you didn't make the trip for nothing. I guess you're right. Let's just get some sleep. Mom and Dad want us at the plaza early tomorrow so we can spend one last day together before they leave again. Alright. Good night. Night. With that, I went to my room and laid down. What an interesting adventure this was. but I'm just glad it was over. Suddenly, as I was drifting off, my phone rang. I sleepily picked it up. I didn't recognize the number, but I figured it must be important. We are calling about your car's extended warranty. Suddenly, as I was just... hello? I asked with a yawn. Mike? It was a woman. Yes? Where are you? Home? Why? I can't find anyone. It's so cold and dark and I'm scared. Calm down. Who is this? Her voice sounded really familiar. Don't you recognize me? It's me, Jamie. Yeah, very funny. Mike, I'm serious. I need your help. Was this really happening right now? There's no way she can be calling me. I'm in the meat locker at the restaurant. I see a bunch of bodies, and there's one by the door that looks like me. Jamie? Mike, I'm freaking out here. Calm down, Jamie. Look, what's the last thing you remember? I was hanging in the air by the door. My thighs really hurt, and I could barely see. And I think you were there. I was, and I freed you just before you died. There was total silence on her end. What are you saying, Mike? Jamie, I know it's hard to believe, but you're dead. But that's impossible. I saw it happen with my own eyes. No. I could then hear her sob. I couldn't blame her. Please, I don't know what to do. It's okay, I told her. I'm here, and I'll try to help you. Okay. So now I apparently have a spirit for a friend. I suppose it could be worse. At least this one was friendly. She still calls me from time to chat. I never did tell Macy who keeps calling. She'd never believe me. Never believe it. She may not be alive, but I can honestly say it's nice to still be talking with Jamie, the only sane person from any Freddy Fazbear's Pizza out there. I'd include myself, but sometimes I wonder. The end. What an ending. What an ending that was. My goodness. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Wattpad used to have a feature where you could attach songs to certain paragraphs. And yeah, for this one, for the end, I attached Just Gold by Mando Pony to be like the credits song. Oh yeah, I totally forgot that was a thing. I love this song. Why does it have to be Just Gold? Nice song. The best FNAF fanfiction I ever read. To each their own, but I hope that comment doesn't hold up. You're an amazing author. You truly have a gift. I'll definitely accept that compliment. I need a sequel to the sequel. Can there be a story about Jamie Mike? Well, do I have a story contest for you, Crit Generator? I made an entire story contest where I had fans write shipping fan fictions of Jamie and Mike. Now that I say that out loud, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now that I say that out loud, that is a thing. Honestly, you should consider making 2 more stories about the ones in Florida and California. I do remember my original plan for Golden Freddy was for Mike to travel across the entire country to these 3 locations. But yeah, that's probably for the best that didn't go through. Author's note. I'm so glad people enjoyed my work. It was quite fun writing these 2 Five Nights at Freddy's stories. It was fun seeing you guys suffer them. I will stick with that. Despite how much I'm cringing now, it was definitely a fun experience, and I would not change that. As far as a possible trilogy, which many of you seem to be requesting, I do think that'd be great, but since an actual Five Nights at Freddy's sequel will be released next year, I think I'll wait until then. Oh, right, because Scott released it early. That's right. It was supposed to release in 2015, but he released it early because that's like Scott's thing. I want to thank all of my fans from the bottom of my heart for supporting me. Your support is what keeps me motivated to write. On that note, I'm currently working on other stories, including An Awesome Life, Dead, Purge, Surviving Another Night, Dead, and Plants vs. Zombies. That actually miraculously got completed. If you haven't done so yet, go check out those stories and give me some feedback. Again, I want to thank everyone for reading my stories, and I can't wait until FNAF 2 is released so we can have more fun with it. No rush though, Scott. I say that as if he's ever touched any of these stories. Yeah, started a new story contest aimed towards those who have read this story in particular. Check my profile. I'm sure you'll enjoy. Yes, the J Mike story contest. I mean, I don't want to knock that too hard because there were a lot of, for all the story contests I did, to be honest, there were a lot of passion to put in there, a lot of passion, and I haven't read any of the stories in a while, like long while, but I'm not gonna not, like, the concept itself nowadays looking back is a little cringy where I'm telling my fans, hey, I want you to write a shipping fanfic of two of my characters. I mean, to be fair, I mostly did that for the fans because the fans were so excited about that. So I was just like, let's let them have some fun. But yeah. As much as I'm knocking that, I'm not saying that I shouldn't have done it because everyone clearly enjoyed that. To be fair, this was the best of the FNAF fan fictions that I have read, and I've read quite a lot, and I still stick by that. Like again, not to toot my horn so much, but there's a reason I feel like my story stood out, was because, like, again, as much as I cringe now because I just know better, but at the time these felt like actual legitimate stories, and not just a shipping fanfic or just the other stuff that you still see today on Wattpad. But yeah, all things considered, I am still. I don't know about Golden Freddy in particular, if I would say I'm proud of that, but there were good elements in there. I feel like there were definitely some good elements in there that I still think hold up well. They should have been reworked a little bit, in my opinion. Like, setting up the reveal of the cannibalism subplot. Like, there was practically no setup there because I made it very obvious from the very beginning. Oh, hi, Pepper. She's just chilling by the door. I could just see her poking up in front of the door there. But yeah, even the first Five Nights at Freddy's story, like, as much as I cringed a little bit at some of that stuff, like, I feel like for the most part I still like that holds out very well and sticks out from the reader ones. Yes, absolutely. The shipping, like, like, I mean, again, like, I don't want to knock I don't want to be too rude, too self-centered, like, oh, my stories are the best, they're absolute perfection. Like, they're clearly not perfection, but, like, yeah, they just stick out so well. And you were still getting... Yeah, I was actually quite surprised when I saw that my stories were still getting reads and comments and likes. Like, I mean, not nearly as much as they did back in the day, but the fact that they're still getting stuff at all, like, I'm genuinely shocked. I genuinely am surprised. I mean, I know FNAF hasn't necessarily died. Like, it's in no way a dead franchise, but definitely not as big as it used to be. And I guess Security Breach, I mean, me in particular, if it wasn't for Security Breach, I wouldn't even be doing this right now. Well, okay, I take that back. I've had thoughts now and then about going back to read my stories, but I wouldn't be back into my Five Nights at Freddy's phase if it wasn't for Security Breach. But, so regardless about your opinions on that game, and I have my opinions on that game, I'm actually working on a little project related to that, but regardless of that, the one thing I can give it credit for is it got me back into this community, reigniting so many great memories I had, including these stories. FNAF's always going to have a special place in my heart. I may not be as big into the series as I used to be, but if it wasn't for FNAF, my life would be, as weird as it's going to sound, FNAF is absolutely a life-changing experience for me. Roxy already has lewd fan. I knew that was gonna happen. Let's be real. They absolutely knew what they were doing with Roxy. They absolutely knew what they were doing with Roxy. As soon as I saw her, I was like, furry bait. That's furry bait. She's absolutely furry bait. And to be fair, there's more to Roxy than her looks. Like, I know she's the fan favorite for her looks, I'm sure, but she actually has the most developed personality, so I'll give her that. And even Chica, like, if I'm being completely honest here, I actually like Chica's design more than Roxy's. Maybe it's because I'm biased or maybe it's because I don't want to look like a furry, but I actually like it. FNAF has been a big part of my life. Yeah, absolutely. She had loot fan art before the games. I was actually shocked at how much security breach content, fan content in general, there was before the game's release. Because, like I said, I haven't really been following the game that much. I knew it existed, and every time there was a new trailer release and stuff like that, I was just like, "Sweet, this actually looks pretty good." But yeah, I'm actually shocked at like how many like fan made SFM videos there were before the game even released, and how much stuff people already knew about the lore and stuff like that before the game was released. I was just like, huh. I don't know. I guess FNAF's always been good at that, but like I said, I haven't really been following the community that much. So, but it made for honestly, I'm actually glad I went into Security Breach completely blind, or as blind as I could be, because like I'd seen trailers and stuff like that. I knew what to expect, but I'm glad I went into that blind. As despite some of the issues the game has, I'm still glad I kind of experienced those firsthand, just so I know that the feelings I have for the game are my own. It's nice to have them backed up by the community, but at least I can confidently say that my opinions are my own. I think that's what makes me talking about it a lot more easier. Security Breach reader stories are going to be plenty. I can imagine so, because I feel like that's another thing that made my story stick out, is that the in all the other stories, the animatronics have personality, they're characters, stuff like that. Whereas in my stories, they're like they are in the games, where they're just silent and just you have absolutely no idea what's going through their mind. So that's what adds to the horror element. But with something like Security Breach, or even Sister Location, if you want to go back that far, I feel like giving them personalities is kind of what takes away some of the scare factor, in my opinion. Like especially with the Security Breach characters, because they feel so alive. They feel and act so alive. They honestly don't even feel like animatronics anymore. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I feel like that's one reason why the horror element I feel is lost in Security Breach, which I wasn't going into it expecting it to be the best FNAF game, and honestly, I feel like anybody who did was setting themselves up for disappointment. But I mean, that's just me. I mean, again, like maybe it was like a Cyberpunk situation where they just promised so much and was just setting expectations so high. I mean, again, I haven't really been following, but even when I was going into this, I knew it was going to be so different from FNAF that I was used to that I wasn't expecting it to be the best. But actually, I shouldn't say whether or not I think it's the worst, because it's just hard for me to rank it, you know? I actually saw a YouTube comment on one of the videos that described it perfectly. It was, Security Breach has the highest highs and the lowest lows of any game in the series, and that honestly is the best way I can describe it. What it gets right, it does beautifully right, and what it gets wrong is just poor at best and inexcusable at worst. That's a good way to put that, I'd say. Yes, Searable did say there's going to be DLC, so not quite sure what it's going to be, but they did say they're going to prioritize fixing all the bugs and stuff first, which is, that's absolutely what they should be doing. It's hard. Like, I'm glad they're trying to fix the game post-launch, but those issues shouldn't have been there at launch in the first place. So, I'm glad they're doing their best, but they should also be criticized and saying, no, if you knew the game wasn't good, wasn't ready, you should have delayed it again. Will you stream after what will you stream after the stories are read? Good question. I'm sure I'll find. I mean, part of me wants to, stream the FNAF games again, because I actually replayed the first game recently. I got up to night 2. Well, I finished night 2, just the first game again, and even after all these years, I was just like, it's just so unsettling. There's something so unsettling about this game. Like, that's why I still subscribe to the fact that the first game is my favorite of the series. It just hits all the right notes for a good, simple horror game. I feel like, I mean, don't get me wrong. The other games are great, but I feel like I guess with the first game, I guess what I'm trying to say with the first game, you can tell that it wasn't trying to be anything more than what it was, if that makes sense. It was just meant to be a simple horror game. Whereas every game after, I feel like it was trying, which, to be fair, you want to try to do better each time, especially with every sequel, you want to get it better each time. But I feel like sometimes it tried a little too hard, if that makes any sense. Like, again, I still love the games, but it just doesn't feel quite the same, if that makes any sense. But as for what I'm gonna stream after I read all my stories, I'm sure I'll find some things to do because I don't want to keep just doing the same games over and over and over and over and over again. I want to like try to do some first-hand stuff. Like in Security Breach, that was a perfect example. It was a blind reaction, blind playthrough, and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't want to do a blind reaction that could potentially be boring to you guys. Like DDLC Plus. I'm honestly not quite sure if I'm still gonna stream that because I don't know, it'll just be me talking the whole time for 5 hours straight. Because at least that's how long it took for me to do the original DDLC Plus, and there's all that content on top of that. So, I don't know. It's still something I'd like to do a blind reaction to, but maybe I'll save that for just like a little Let's Play scenario kind of thing rather than a live stream. I don't know. First 3 games are the best. I don't know. I mean, the first 2 games are good. Again, the first game is obviously going to be my favorite, but Pizzeria Simulator, like of all games, I really kind of like what was going on with that game. It obviously shook up the formula a bit, but while still having some of the formulaic elements in there. But I feel like that was a great way to shake up the formula while still feeling like a Five Nights at Freddy's game. Because Sister Location, I'm glad Scott shook up the formula and did something different, but it kind of lost its FNAF touch, if you ask me. So... And actually, of all games, how do I think about it? That could be a fun one. Ultimate Custom Night. I've actually been playing a lot of Ultimate Custom Night recently. Let me get this out of the way. I have no plans of doing 50-20 mode or ever. Maybe a few attempts, or maybe if I'm really motivated. So I don't plan on going that far. But I am just slowly building up a thing that'll work just to see what my personal high score is going to be. Because... right where I'm at right now, I think my high score is 3550. I believe that's my current high score. Or is it 3050? Somewhere around there. That's currently my high score. And what I've got right now, it's relatively easy, but it also relies on a lot of luck. But yeah, that could be a fun one to stream. I love the DDLC Plus side stories. Yeah, I hope they're good. I'm hoping they're good because... we finally get more DDLC story content. So I would hope they're good. She's still over there? No, I think she left. Sorry, I could see my cat over there by the door. I think she left. Oh my goodness. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Now I'll save that for another stream. I was gonna say if we could do some ultimate custom night now, but I think I'll save that for another stream because I don't want it to delve too far off this stream here. Yes, the speech at the end of Pizzeria Simulator, without a doubt, one of the greatest moments in the entire series, if not the greatest moment in the entire series. Like, yeah, that one line in particular, easily the greatest line in the entire series. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, old friend. It's just like, that is such a raw and great line. I love it so much. But yeah, I personally believe that Pizzeria Simulator was a great finale, like a good, I know we've had several final games, but Pizzeria Simulator was you could absolutely tell was, well, I say that, was the final definitive ending, but Security Breach happened, and the true ending of that game kind of raised more questions, and kind of made that whole speech and ending kind of pointless. Yeah, that's one of my criticisms with the game, but what can you do? What can you do? The music is good. Okay, so yeah, I figured there was new content, remakes and stuff like that, but I'm not gonna go into it saying like, oh, it better be good. Like I expected there was some good quality to it, but it's one of those things where you wait so long when you do something not good. Obviously, people are gonna be more vocal about it to an extent. I think that's why a lot of the backlash with Security Breach was the way it was. I always come back. Oddly enough, with Ultimate Custom Night, that's the line I keep hearing the most because Afton's the one that keeps getting me. And to be fair, it's because I keep accidentally opening the vent when it's already closed. So that's just me doing quick muscle memory. Because how I have it set up, like two of the animatronics I have set up are BB and JJ at max 20. So every time I lower the camera, I just quickly close the vent. And like 9 times out of 10, they're there. And that's what I like about Ultimate Custom Night the more I think about it. It's just how everything synergizes with each other. Because every time BB or JJ are stopped, you get a Faz coin. Well, since that keeps happening all the time, I can have Rockstar Freddy there. So whenever he needs 5 Faz coins, they're already there without me having to turn the heater up. Yeah, just things like that. But where was it going? Oh yeah, so Afton, yeah, I always shut the vent to shut out BB or JJ. But when I hear the rustling of the vent and the lights flickering, I turn the vent door back on. And then before I realize what I just did, that's when Afton gets me. Because Afton's on 22. Because it's just like, he does have a relatively simple mechanic. Because he only comes once a night. Same with Scrap Baby. You only have to worry about her once a night. So, again, little things like that. You know what? Screw it. I don't think I'm gonna play it, but I will show you guys. Hold on. Yeah, but I will show you guys my setup, just so you guys can have an idea of what I'm talking about. Yeah, as you can see, Security Breach was my last played game. Ultimate Custom Night. Yeah, I'll show you what my setup looks like. Okay, 3550 is my high score. Good. Okay, so phone guy. So first of all, like all the distraction characters are set to max. Yeah, the only one that gives me real trouble is Old Man Consequences because, yeah, if you miss his fish, he'll lock your monitor, which isn't necessarily too bad because I don't have too many monitors animatronics set up. But obviously that could be a real problem if I go higher. Yeah, Balloon Boy, BB and JJ. Yeah, all you gotta do is just shut the vent as soon as they're in. I have to go, hopefully catch your next stream. Okay, well, yeah, thanks for stopping by to the stream and stuff like that. And yeah, hope to see you next time. I'll try to give more of a heads up next time because I've kind of set this one up an hour before I did it. But yeah, I would definitely want to. Yeah, hope to see you next time. Rockstar Foxy, have him set up to 20 and just literally never click on the bird. That's easy points right there. One I actually did start doing recently, and I can't believe I never thought of this before. Just only have Bonnie in Pirate's Cove, because literally all you have to do is just never look at Pirate's Cove. That's literally all you got to do to stop him. Rockstar Chica, yeah, she's like the only camera animatronic I have, so that one's relatively straightforward. I just got to keep switching the wet floor signs. Rockstar Freddy, got that on max. You'll be going too. Have a good night. All right, yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Slender Slayer. I hope to catch you next time. Let's see. Who else do I have? Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, and then Golden Freddy. Because all I do is automatically lower the Freddy mask. I automatically lower the Freddy mask when I close the camera, so that's just easy to get rid of them. Oh yeah, Helpy and Trash in the Gang. Those are up there too. Who else did I have? Do I have anyone else? Oh yeah, I have Nightmare Fredbear and Nightmare on 5. Yeah, I'm still slowly working my way up with them. because there are times I don't notice them in the doors. Let's see. Yeah, Afton, that's on 20. Scrap Baby, that's on 20. Yeah, Molten Freddy, I'm only just recently getting better with him. Because that's an audio cue right there. Music Man, that's on 5 for now. I might raise him higher up next time. Oh, Lefty, I think that's one I started doing recently too. Yes, so this is more so what I'm practicing right now. Because with the 3 vent animatronics here, yeah, all you really need to do is the audio lure to keep them in place. And there's basically a way to cheese it where if you just place the audio lure in the same spot, they'll like never move. So that's easy there. Yeah, Orville isn't fooled by the audio lure, so that one's going to be a little bit difficult, but... was there anyone else? Okay, but yeah, just as you can see, just right when there, that's going to give me some bonus points right there, but... So yeah, that's basically where I'm standing there, but... Yeah, it's, definitely... Yeah, I feel like this could definitely be fun to stream eventually, but... We'll see. We'll see when we get there. But... Anyway, yeah, I think I better wrap the stream up now, because we kind of delved off topic here. So, yeah. Alright, so, yeah. Thanks to everybody who came and watched the stream. Hope you got some enjoyment out of it, and I'll hopefully see y'all in the next one. See ya.